a sailor on a sinking ship. I could be a vagabond with a split lip. I could be Supergirl, but you wouldn't know. Look inside, I may find a brand new show. So don't fall apart on me. Don't fall apart on me, 'cause I'm wrapped around it. Wrapped around it. Wrapped around it. Wrapped around it. I could be a gypsy dancing on my moon. I could be a baby growing inside your womb, giving me a trouble running underground. Maybe you just sit on them and hope that you don't drown. So don't fall apart on me. Don't fall apart on me, 'cause I'm wrapped around it. Wrapped around it. Wrapped around it. Wrapped around it. I'll fool you, baby, or instead, maybe, or shake the town till it's been I could be a bag lady with candy for you. I'm sitting at the bus stop with nothing to do. I could be a dancer moving to your song. I could be a lover till the night is gone. Wrapped around it. Wrapped around it. Wrapped around it. Wrapped around
The views expressed in the following show are of the host, the guest, and the callers. The content of the following show, its accuracy, authenticity, and the ramifications of the use or application of said content is the responsibility of those speaking and listening, not the broadcast medium.
All right, we are back and we are live. Feet to the fire. I'm your host, James South of Yanchik, the Black Knight of Talk Radio. You know, it's getting a little frustrating here. I'm setting up the show to broadcast. Now, I do a test, and I should record this, or at least keep the results for the bandwidth prior to going live. And I have over 10 megabytes per second upload speed. And I've set my broadcast for 3,500 KBS, or, KBS, so it's 3.5 megabytes per second, and it's barely keeping up. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how this stuff works out. I just I used to know a lot about things, and now I'm so much older than I'm younger than it now. I know less than why things are going on. In fact, I think I'm going crazy. I mean, not really, but I'm watching a lot of people around me, and you know what they say: if everyone's around you is irrational, hello, you know. But I don't know what to say. I'll get into some things as we're talking here. But I'm looking at the bandwidth, and I don't understand that. But here we are. Hopefully you're getting it live and going on. See if I can get to my right stuff here. Yeah, now it seems to be okay. One thing I'd like to say, I'm trying this, just seeing how things work out on it. So let's go to the webpage. I'm starting to do some merchandising. Now, it's not that I'm making all kinds of money on this. In fact, whenever I can, I make it down to very little bit. But I thought I would do these things, if anything, to get out some of my concepts. Now, if you notice at some of these options, there's no reference to the show on the shirt. So it isn't like a promo for the show, but it is a promo for concepts and ideas. And the mugs are for the show. I've had this for several years. I've updated it, and they're kind of nice. I have one out here. I don't have it next to me. I guess I should. That'd be good to do that. It's showing I'm not exactly Mr. Marketer here. What is going on with this? Oh, wrong button. Okay. All right, so if you look on the Feet to the Fire Radio.com and you scroll down to the side, you'll see the radio merchandise button, and I will be updating things as I do them. I have a T-shirt there. It's the things to do list. Hashtag voter ID, hashtag fire them all, hashtag lock them up, hashtag Trump 2020, hashtag Rand Paul 2024, hashtag Rand Paul 2028 in black and dark and light colors. This one is, this one is semi-original in that I did see a flag in Poland as they were marching, and it had a no Nazis or no fascists. I can't say the word. I put it in literally originally no Nazis, and it was banned. So no fascists, no commies, and then they have the American flag. And so I did take the concept from them, and I put that out there. And there's no political affiliation whatsoever on this shirt. So this one is available, and then I put the Trump 2020 on the other one. These are on the front. If anybody's interested, send me an email. I'll make one for the back. These first two are on the back. I can't just make 5 million of different kinds. So that is the way to do that. I have put some out on Facebook and Twitter being completely ignored. So I don't know if this is going to mean anything for anybody. Sometimes I wonder if I'm only clever in my head. But there is the page. And as far as I understand now, I've made it so that they make a batch every 3 days. So if you order it, it'll say, there's like 1 day left, and then it should reset it. And then it ships out every third day they're made and they ship out. The shipping is included, I believe, if I recall. I bought one myself as a test. But there you go. I thought I'd throw that out there. I also have updated. The Conspiracy Channel is back on the air. Now, I have to talk to Rob because it looks like what was it called now? Great. I've seen the logo of the channel, so I can't think of the name of it. Free Jack TV is, I think, is still going to running. And so that has Feet to the Fire on it. The Conspiracy Channel is just restarting, so I may have been in error to include the Feet to the Fire on there. So, I'll talk with Rob, but I'll put the Free Jack TV picture ad thing back up there as well. Then that way you can get that information. So that's the, I guess, the business end of things, if I can call it that. Let me switch to my boom and boom. There we go. As I go down the list. Now, I want to mention, and maybe I'll just wait. I'll mention it when I get to the... James McKenney put out on Twitter about his wing, as he puts it, his wing machine, which uses the principles of a wing, and it's in a portable, light, and inexpensive mode to generate electricity. And so I shared that along the way. A comment I came up with from a comment I did, grace is a gift, it's not a right. I think where I would go with that, and I wasn't really looking at it in a religious context, which grace is often used, though, I guess if the shoe fits. But the idea is that when somebody gives you something, it's a gift, it's not a right. And when you demand to get a gift or to get a type of a privileged or a somehow, controlled entry, or get some type of a bonus. I don't know what the word is. Whatever you want to talk about it. That's where that came from. There's the mugs and the T-shirts on Facebook. Here is a question. This is one I maintain. People talk about, why are we here? What's the meaning of life? Oh my gosh. We'll ponder that for thousands of years. And again, either I am a genius, insane, or both. To me, it's kind of simple. Why are we here on Earth? Why are we alive? What is life? What are we doing here? My answer is, we came here to be given a choice to choose, like the love, help choice, which would be like, we value each other and help each other to be their highest, best good, whatever. Versus hate, selfishness, which is someone looks at other people as a resource and will manipulate them to get what they can from them, regardless of what it does to them. Those would be the two options. And to see those choices play out in preparation for the next level, in which those choices will continue to play out, accelerated and insulated from each other's effects. Right now, we have those people who are selfish users, predators. Let's say predators and parasites are predatoring. Is that a word? Predatoring and parasiting on the people who are helping, giving, and working and providing and doing so. This is, I think, what the deal is that if you can do it, if you can, in this pressured environment, to be a predator or a parasite, which would be the passive-aggressive version of a predator, if the pressure is made to do that, if you can withstand to do that, and to hold your ground, be creative, be helpful, be nice, be a nice person. If you can do that here under this pressure, imagine what it'll be like in the next level where that pressure is gone. It'll be nothing but creating, loving, helping, with even more physical, metaphysical ability, magical ability or enhanced abilities, how you want to say it. And likewise, those who chose the passive-aggressive predator parasite will go into an area where you won't have the sheep to harvest, and it'll be all against each other. Again, enhanced to a higher level with no sheep to shear. You have to go for each other. So that is, I think, what a more philosophic version of hell and heaven is, that from a perspective of heaven, what I just said about the predator world would be hell. And The other would be heaven. So, and I want to mention the dark side has cheated and intervened to affect and to interfere with the choice. So the pressure is there from the dark side to choose evil, or at least to pressure you to not create and find your niche and your giving. And so because of that cheating, that interference, God has sent his response, his intervention, which he chose, I think, at apex was Jesus. And so, thus, that's God's intervention for good. So that's when I would turn this off. I'm getting some feedback. Let me turn down my headset a little bit there. And so that was my little philosophical thing for the day. In the news, the Manafort trial is starting soon, and, here's Washington Wall Street Journal, big implications for Russian probe. And I just thought I would reiterate for the 100 millionth time, to beat a dead horse, even deader, this trial whose subject has nothing to do with Russian hacking, Russian collusion, or Donald Trump. It has to do with Manafort and things that he did prior to working for Trump, and where he didn't declare that he was working for a faction in Ukraine to help them, like a public relations thing, which, of course, Podestas were doing. And Podestas are getting immunity to testify against him for doing basically the same thing. They didn't report their as being an agent for a foreign government. And so it has nothing to do with the collusion. And I said before, it'd be like if somebody had a search warrant, came in your house to look for drugs, for example, and they found that they took your books and found that you had done some tax evasion. You didn't declare Bitcoin on your taxes or something, and then they went ahead and prosecuted you. Normally speaking, when you go after someone, there's the parameters in what you do, and what you find has to be in the parameters. Otherwise, you have to, depending upon what it is, you can refile to extend things. And but they went in with parameters like, look for the Russian collusion and anything else you find, as long as you can nail people around Trump. Hopefully, you will nail Trump. So it's ridiculous. I can't even talk about it anymore. I mean, I have friends who laugh at this stuff, and all they do is say dumb jokes. I mean, I get it here on a feed. I've been silencing people's feeds because I'm getting these dumb jokes. It's like the ramifications of this are so historically horrific. A big joke. You're talking about a crash in a market. You're talking about possible wars. Hello? But no. We got to get Trump out of there. So it's I can't deal with it. Let's see. What else I got here? T-shirts. There's a legal fund. People were accosted during a peaceful, and I would use a demonstration, I don't know what to say, walk, on a pro-Trump rally, and the police literally marched them into the Antifa types, and so they are actually suing the city, and the judges are going ahead with it. So there's a legal fund there that you can go fund me. I tell you, the lawyers are sure getting rich in all this. Between all these people, they're sitting back going, yeah, go ahead, let's do some more. Yeah, go for it. Another bust in the child sex ring. This is a new one. Some of the ones are being recycled, which doesn't mean that they're still good, but these are new things that are happening. And, you know what? I tried to do this. Ron Dolman, who was a long-time listener, and he's been on the show several times, he has said that I could run a live chat on Twitter by putting a hashtag, like I put down hashtag F2F, right? Well, of course, it's already being used. Then I went, F2FR, that's being used. And then we had time for airtime. So I may try this again, only I have to pick up something a little bit longer, like, Feet to Fire Radio or Feet to the Fire. Yeah, probably Feet to the Fire Radio, because all the good hashtags have been taken. So I thought I'd throw it out there. So these they're being arrested, and it's a lot is being arrested. And even though some of the people complaining that they're not going after the big fish, maybe they will, maybe they won't, but these are still worth catching. Yeah, this is Kelvin Cheney. I've never said his name out loud, his last name out loud. Cheney, I guess. Cheney. Had put out a video, which I watched, was pretty good. I've tuned it a little bit to get right to the point. And John Rappaport was on Fade to Black and was talking about the Gulf War, and how the WDMDs of the actual biological and chemical warfare stuff, there's an audit trail that being sent to Iraq, which it shouldn't have been, okayed by all the departments, which shouldn't have done it, which then makes me understand better the whole Gulf War syndrome, and number one. And number two, why the urgency to get those WMDs from Iraq when their guy over there, Saddam, went rogue. It did. It's like, how do they know they were there? Well, they gave it to them, so that's how they would know. And three, why they were never found. And that's because, they can't say, hey, we found them, and, oh, yeah, they trace back to us. And so they found them and then kept them quiet and just took it on the chin, like, and they had the George Bush thing, which I almost vomit when I saw him joking around. Oh, there's W&Ds here somewhere. Maybe they're over here. And everybody's laughing it up. Maybe they're over there and laughing it up. I killed 1 million people. God, this makes me sick. Anyway, it's a good part of data coming in for that. So I put that link. I'll put everything as usual. I put it in the notes of the show when it's done. But it's on the Facebook as is. This whole thing with the Russian collusion, they indicted these 12 guys. I mean, this is where I'm having just a hard time. My brain is geared toward critical thinking. I mean, I can believe stuff. I can fantasize. I can come up with ideas of things. I can project possibilities and then see if it meets reality. I mean, it's not like I'm sitting here like some kind of an accountant. I mean, I've come up with theories which I can't prove, but fits some part, loosely fits. Well, I run with them for now, and I'll say them. I'll say, hey, this is a model I got. It's open to change, but it kind of fits what I know so far. If you got more information, we can hone it down a little bit, expand it. Maybe it'll be proven false. Okay, well, I'm giving it a shot. No problem. No harm, no foul. I'm not attached to these things, but I'm also not just going to accept things on face value. And this whole Russian collusion thing where they got these guys who invested a few $1,000s. I don't know. Let's say 100,000. I mean, I think it was less than that, but say 100,000. Versus, $1 billion that was invested by the Democratic Party and various supporters. How could that have? And then it also says, and they didn't affect the election, and no Americans are involved. So it's like, it's not even nothing. It's not even, shouldn't even be included in this, except they got to come up with some scalps that they can go, oh, see, we got those 12. I told you Trump was with the Russians. It got nothing to do with it. But, my brain just like goes, huh? I can just imagine if somebody woke up with amnesia, how tough that would be to deal with. Because, here's your wife, here's your kids, and you have no memory of them. I mean, that's got to be phenomenal to deal with. So I can just imagine what that would be like, having this kind of stuff where I see these things, and if Trump was colluding with the Russians, and if he was doing all this stuff, then nail him. And I'm not a spokesperson. I'm not a water carrier for it. I told you my man was Ron Paul, and we had our chance with Ron Paul, and we didn't. And so they brought in Trumpzilla. The universe brought in Trumpzilla. All right, but here is a mark from Mark Simeon. I guess somebody on Twitter I saw. He's got a radio show, probably conservative talk shows, but a couple of Russians put up some negative Facebook ads in broken English. Is considered tampering with the election. mainstream media runs $1 million negative stories on Trump, lies and what, and that's okay. Good point. And I didn't know what to. I'm getting really worn out by this because it's so freaking obvious that it's like me getting up saying, I'm breathing air today. Yes, I'm breathing air today. No, you're not. Yes, I am. I'm breathing. No, you're not. You're not breathing air. Yes, I am. Well, and I'll go through the centuries of proving that air is being breathed and that there's experiments to prove that there is air, and I wouldn't go on and on and on, and it's just like, no, it isn't. You're just a Trump supporter. You're just a, and I don't know what to do. I'm going into my little spiel for today, I guess. I don't know what to do. Somebody write me and tell me something. I don't know. I mean, I'm seeing this stuff, and it's like, am I the one that's crazy? And it's like gaslighting. I can get that whole thing. In the movie, you're watching it happen, but you're seeing them happen and all this. And this side, I got people who have been following, at least some of these people have been following the show for a while. I mean, not for, 15 years, but they've been following the show for a while, and you could see my things I say aren't based in some kind of, I'm not pushing a point. I'm not going along with the theme that I'm pushing through regardless of truth. I'm going along looking for truth in reality. And, and so I threw this picture up in like a sarcastic amount. How can you spot the Russian bots, in this picture when Trump was being sworn in, it was full all the way to the end. But of course, the mainstream media put a picture out earlier in the morning, and then they argued about it. And it's like, well, so like, say it was the exact same time. Maybe the people came later with Trump because they were being frisked ridiculously, and there was the Antifa around stopping them. I mean, here's the picture. Here's the picture this is from Politico. Google took a 360 shot of it when he was, there he is being, come on. Why is this even a discussion? You can probably sense my frustration. My frustration, which is like, this is crazy. Let's see, I'm looking at the chat room, see if I got any help here. I wrote a little sarcastic remark. If it ever got out that Facebook was shadow banning, their stock would drop like a stone. Facebook stock dropped 120 billion loss, ranks amongst the biggest one-day loss of ever. Now, let me also add, the worth of Facebook. How is Zuckerberg like richest man in the world? What is Facebook? What does it? Do they make steel? I mean, does it make computers? Does it make? What is it? Are you going to tell me that the ads I see, which I don't even see, I'm completely blind to the ads that come up? That's where they get their money? No, they get their money from, of course, selling your data, which they've been proven about, and now they're going to be suppressing, or have been suppressing, certain points of view. I don't know if they're getting paid for that or not, but I mean, how can it be worth anything? It's like the emperor's new clothes. So Facebook loses $120 billion loss. It didn't lose anything. There's nothing there to lose. I don't get it. Tommy Robinson, his appeal verdict is going to be released next week, I think Monday or Tuesday. They said they would do, they being the tribunal in England, headed by the head of what would be the Supreme Court of England, would release their verdict Monday or Tuesday. By the end of July is what they said. And this is what... This is going to be coming out. So, Ezra, who's been covering this, is Ezra Levant, who is at the Rebel Media, who has been asked to cover this and crowdfunded him to go over and do this. He's optimistic. Now, I hope so too. But I pointed out that I hope they in Twitter. I said I hope they come up with a verdict before he's killed in prison, because it's taken a while, And then somebody, these are the morons that tweet, who who said that his reply was, "Yeah, I hope he stays alive too, so he can stay in prison more before he dies when they extend his stay." I'm like, what kind of, what has Tommy Robinson done to get that kind of visceral hate? Well, what kind of thing has Trump done? There's something going on in the air. There's some kind of, I guess it's years of programming coming to fruition. People whip out things like, the MK Ultra explains everything, and it doesn't. MK Ultra in its redacted, released form was a failed experiment. Now, let's assume that some of it actually works, but it's probably not real trustworthy, which is probably why it's moved on. This is why they have they make a patsy, and then they have a team guys go in with him when they shoot up, and then he ends up dead, or he ends up not being able to talk or testify afterwards. The Jack Ruby comes in and cleans up afterwards, after the patsy. That's probably the extent of it. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. I'll get emails for people who, and they'll show articles written on it, and I read them, and I go, "Where is this coming from?" And then they'll cite these released declassified MK Ultra files, which are greatly redacted, and if you read them, it says it doesn't work good. Well, it didn't work good, reliably. So, I this is why I have a hard time dealing with this stuff, is people just say stuff. And there's people who claim they've gone through the system and have multiple personalities and different memories. And I'm saying, yeah, I'm sure this stuff goes on, and you can impress upon people memories that don't exist, and you can break them into multiple personalities. That's all true. But is it reliable enough to have a, deep planned covert mission? That's where I disagree. I think that it is torture or for fun by psychopaths, but probably what they do is they'll hire somebody who is a psychopath who likes to do this stuff. He's going to be more reliable. He's going to get paid money, and he'd be more reliable than someone who is programmed. Anyway, I haven't seen much from Ben Swan in a while, and he's done some good stuff. He's like a mainstream media guy who was really kind of doing his job, gets bounced because he was doing it too well, got into areas that he didn't want him to do. He went on his own, and he was being sponsored by Dash, Digital Cash. Apparently they, pulled the sponsorship or what have you, and he's got a new one coming out, so August he'll have more stuff, so I want to mention that. I mentioned the YouTube video channel that is Headlines with a Voice. I found them to be pretty interesting. They did go out a little bit with the QAnon stuff, which, and so one of their tweets are, well, we held it off for a while, but we think, so everything that I say on here, I'm not giving I'm not signing it in blood saying this stuff is 100% true and, oh my gosh, this is great. But to me, it's like, I think you people out there have the ability to critical think and go through this stuff and do whatever you want with it. I don't agree with it. Yeah, I agree with it. I agree with some of it. I agree with none of it. I don't like it at all. And you don't do it. That's all I do when I bring this stuff out. I thought that some of the commentary was pretty good. There was a couple of ones that were a little bit iffy, but this one was depressingly well in how they sold out their Navy. A guy who invented stealth technology had it stolen from him and sold to all kinds of countries. So I just put it up there for viewing. Of course, the usual suspects are all involved with this, Mueller and other people. So interesting that this is going to get bounced. The Ninth Circuit, which is very liberal, had a three judge panel. Probably two of the only conservative judges who actually bothered to read the Constitution. But they appealed, the U.S. Appeal Court upholds the right to carry a gun in public. Now, we're talking open carry, no permits, Second Amendment only, which is what, a lot of people would go, yeah, of course, that's what it means. the people are appealing it to the full court, which is mostly liberal, which would probably knock it down. Then it gets kicked up to the Supreme Court, and that would be very interesting. And so, meanwhile, while that's going on, they're going to be doubling down on anybody that Trump may put in the Supreme Court. Now, here's something I wanted to mention, and this gets into my topic. People are going crazy, or I am. Okay, I can back up stuff I say with some kind of a logical network. So, I have to ask myself, am I nuts? And then I go over my data and I go, well, no, this is true. This is basis. This is backed up. This is like physics, and so forth. And I think what this is now, this has got nothing to do with Q, though it mentions Q. I'm not talking about Q. I'm talking about this guy, Serial Brain 2. Okay, who was one of these Q interpreters. And I would like you to watch one of these things with this in mind. I don't even know why I watched it. I guess I know why now, because I was supposed to see this. But how Serial Brain 2, the logic that they use as he decodes is absolutely, I'm calling it weaponized, weapon-grade deconstruction of critical thinking. It's designed to destroy your mind. Because as this guy walks you through the decoding, it is utter nonsense. And so either people who are critical thinkers as they go through this, and it actually was painful to listen to this stuff, right? So either it's going to be weaponized to destroy someone, or it's going to take someone and train them how to not critically think and just go along with this stuff. So forget the Q part. It's nothing to do with the Q part. It's how this guy decodes it is what I'm talking about. And I'd recommend people read. You probably can pick any of the Serial Brain 2 ones. The one I saw two, and that's all I needed. I saw one which I thought was so ridiculous. It was how they were talking about they were sending codes from Rockefeller, was getting codes sent in via the Emmy Awards, and he explained the coding, which is just ridiculous. And I'm thinking I could just see Rockefeller watching I'm sorry, you're going to have to watch the Emmy Awards because our next marching orders and requests are going to be there, and have them decode. I mean, it's outrageous. And this was another one. And so I would recommend people who want to see weaponized, weapon-grade deconstruction of critical thinking to actually see a weapon. It's like watching an incoming bullet in slow motion and watching the damage that it does, or watching like a laser beam or whatever, an atom bomb. That is what I look at when I see this stuff, and it is outrageously ridiculous. And it's not ridiculous. That's the point. It's not ridiculous. It is planned to ruin your mind. And so, again, none to do with Q. This is an interpreter Q and how they interpret it, and it's outrageous. Outrageous. And, of course, thousands and thousands and thousands of people watch this. So, again, I find myself on the outside looking in. Now, a couple people who saw this were like, this is ridiculous. Oh, okay, good. I felt good. I found a couple of people thought it was ridiculous. And there's tens of thousands of people who don't, or at least they watch it. So this is what's happening. And this all started to really get going after Trump's election. So I think if I can generalize here, they didn't pay as much attention to the internet because the mainstream media and the cable was the big thing, and a lot of Trump information got out through the internet. And so now post-Trump election, they've really turned up. You got YouTube, Twitter. I don't know about Instagram. I don't use that, so I don't hear much about it. So they are using algorithms to suppress information and whatnot. I know my interactions have gone down to almost nothing. Now, either people don't like what I'm saying, and that's fine. I'm not going to get upset or hurt by that. Just let me know. If no one wants to hear what I'm saying, I won't do it. I'll start recording music. All right, so I got no problem with that. But either somehow stuff I'm saying isn't getting out there, or maybe people don't care. But those things are all post-Trump being elected, and these people who are interpreting are either doing it for fun and are laughing at people, like going back to the old boards, Surfing the Apocalypse and Godlike Productions and all those, Rumor Mill News, where they used to get a kick out of making stuff up and seeing people who will understand it. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's actually weaponized, where these people are trying to be like a Pied Piper of mental destruction. And so they'll use the cue, which gets people interested, and then they bring them into their interpretation, which destroys their mind. I mean, destroys the mechanism of critical thinking. I mean, that's what I'm saying there. China apparently is now caving. There's stuff about that. Here's this video that I told you these people, this headline with a voice. They talk about Trump giving 160 terabytes of information to Trump, Putin giving it to Trump. I have a very difficult, it would be so risky to do that and get caught. And if that happened and they found out, it leaked out that this happened, people would be going nuts. And on the left, and finally the rhinos and the lefts would have enough to, impeach. So I just think it's too risky to have done it for anybody. But here's the story. And if anybody did it justice, it's these people. And so I'll leave it up to you. I mean, when they came out with JFK Jr. is alive in his queue, I don't know what to say. That's why my title for this thing is blank stare. I don't know what to say. I mean, I thought I heard it all with Planet X and all these things going on back in the Art Bell days and all that. This stuff is getting, what? What has he been doing? He's been just lying in wait for all this time to come out and do this? I mean, just put some, it's like Elvis being alive. Elvis or Jim Morrison. It may have flied for a little while, but, it might have been, I don't mean fly, but it might have been a maybe. You get tired of the rat race and all that. And, Mark Levin, who, he's a constitutional scholar. I've heard him on the radio years ago. I mean, this is years ago. And, he's definitely like a Republican, a conservative and all that. But he's also got a pretty good critical mind and he's very good in constitutional stuff. And he goes out with a pretty good rant. I had to say, I kind of enjoyed it. It's a frustration. It's the frustration in there that I identify with, along with the facts that he put out there. So regardless of what you might think of Levin or the Republican whatever, what he said in here is true, that Trump is the most investigated man in American history. If they had anything on him, it would be flown up in the sky with a skywriter. So, David Hogg, our man David Hogg is back in the news. He's tweeting out walkaways of Russian propaganda. Remember this, when we need to vote Democratic. And so I wanted to know when is this guy fair game? And I think David Hogg is a knucklehead. That's more likely than probable than walk away is Russian propaganda. And I'm wondering when he is no longer can do the victim card so he can be taken to task for his knuckleheadia. My sister's been looking into this walk away campaign as it is on Twitter, Facebook. And, it can't be Russian bots because there are people leaving videos of themselves. And, I think a lot of it is people who are walking away from the insanity on the left. I mean, absolute insanity. And for that matter, treason. But they're not running to the right or Trump, but they're starting their own little group. And, of course, you take pictures and they're all dressed up and they talk about how they did this. It's a clutch. But still, I'm glad to see people are using their brains to walk away from that insanity. And I'll take it. I'll take it. Believe me, I'll take it. Interesting video. There was a video over at the place where Assange is staying, basically prisoner. He is being threatening that he has to leave, right? So they have a video, and I don't know if I could show the videos. I mean, I show stuff, and all of a sudden it's like warning, Will Robinson, warning, because I'm on some kind of watch list. I mean, don't you got to have 500,000 people following you to get on the list? I haven't hit 2,000, but I'll put the links down there. There was people moving furniture out of the Ecuadorian embassy in in England. Well, and nobody around. Somebody was filming it, but there was no police around or nothing like that. And one of the people who was moving the furniture out in like a uniform, one-piece uniform, whatever, looked like a little bit like Assange. So the theory here is that he were moving furniture out, and he was one of the movers who then took off. So for all I know, he got away, or 2 blocks away, he got arrested. I don't know. But they're still talking about him leaving there, so I don't know if it's a cover or if it's true or whatever. Here's another link. This is just disgusting. Over 70,000 children put on pills for depression. I mean, when I was a kid, there was no depressed kids. Now, granted, they had parents at those days, father and a mother, and mother was home, and I understand that. But the pill part is what the problem is. The pill is going to ruin the kid, and it's ridiculous. Well, it's old news by now with the FISA warrant. Yeah, July 22nd. It's 7 days ago, so. The FISA warrant application supports Nunes. That's still a running thing here. I think I ran to the end. So let me tell you a story that happened just minutes ago. And I mean no harm or foul to the individual per se. But, and I've said this before, if you friend me, that means I will see whatever you post if I follow you, which is automatic at the beginning. And this is my incoming news feed. And if I see something on there to comment on, I'm going to comment on it if I so choose. And historically, what I'm drawn to by nature is to point out flaws. Now, it's not glamorous, all right? I don't make friends doing this. Today's evident, right? So when I know what I know, and I don't know what I don't know. And so when I do know something and can back it up with some kind of science, experience, something, I will comment on it because I'm not arguing with the person posting it. That's not my intent. My intent is to give another point of view on that topic that's being posted. All right, so if you post something on there and I give a point of view which will contradict what you're saying, or at least in some way lessen what the point is, you got basically two choices. You can look at it, appraise that information, revalue and revisit your position, and maybe it'll help it, maybe it won't. You'll say, wait a minute, well, I'm gonna think about this. I need more information. All right, fine. Or you can reject it outright, without evidence, without explanation, and because you believe or think it's what it is. And this is the big thing that's happening all over Facebook, Twitter, is you have people who are inside a narrative bubble. And as things come into that bubble which doesn't fit, it's rejected. And this is very, very unhealthy and dangerous. Why is it unhealthy and dangerous? Because you can be manipulated by someone who will feed you through that narrative bubble and alter and lead you where they want you to go or do what they want to do by giving you just enough to feed your bubble and then, pull it along. It's also dangerous because if you believe things that aren't reality, sometimes those things can be very painful. A long while ago, I did a clip from a movie. Probably couldn't do it now without getting, banned from the world and all. But it was a clip from a movie where Jack Palance played this is set back in the Roman days. I can't think of the name of the movie right now. Paul Newman was his first movie, and it was a bomb. So he stopped doing movies for years until he got back into it again. And Jack Palance he's the actor, and I don't know what his name was in the movie. He was a magician. But he had tricks. He would fly off the top of this tall obelisk by using a contraption with ropes that people couldn't see from the ground and so on. Well, then he started to drink his own Kool-Aid, so to speak, and so he went up there to fly, and instead he goes, no, I don't need to have this braces. I'm going to fly by my own command, and he jumps off and, of course, falls to his death. That is what I'm talking about when living in a narrative bubble. If that narrative is not true, and in other words, doesn't resonate with reality, if it doesn't, in his case, it didn't contain gravity is universal, and you can't just say no to gravity. If that's your bubble that you're in, you're going to hit a wall. Silver Chalice, thank you. Who was that? Elvin in the chat room. Silver Chalice. It's not a good movie. It's not, but at least that's a good thing to take away from it. And if your narrative bubble contains, let's say, harmless fantasy that doesn't actually hit reality, no harm, no foul, I guess. But I think what we're in a time of is people's realities are being tested by the real reality. So your narrative bubble is going to be checked for reality. If it does, if it's real, it'll blend in with the reality. Some minor tweaks here and there. And those tweaks you're going to have to agree with or not. And if the tweaks are too big and you won't agree with them, you'll clash with reality. And I'm telling you, reality wins big time. All right, so right now you have the Clinton crime thing, and you have all the stuff going on, and they are clashing with reality. Okay, they have a lot of power on their narrative side, and it's narrative versus narrative. It's not Clinton versus a brick wall. It's narrative versus narrative. So the narratives are fighting. It's my hope that truth and reality wins universally. And, I'll take my knocks. I probably in the middle of, I guess we'll call it, if you want to get into a biblical phraseology, crucible. And the fight, you're heating up and your silver burning off impurities to make you more pure. And that's probably what we're all going through. And people who have enough impurities are going to burn up with the process. And this is what I'm worried about. And what I saw with this individual, and I don't know him from Adam, I have seen the name around. He's probably listened for a while, or at least it's going back to the so-called Planet X type thing, where you have, you take a picture of the sun and there's two suns. And it goes back forever with the lens flare. Whenever you have a bright, concentrated source going into the lens, especially when you have now the capacitive CCD instead of film, worked on film too, especially in those receivers. When you have that bright, concentrated light coming through that lens, it reflects. I'm not sure if the word reflects in the lens and creates a ghost image. This happened a million times, right? And the point that I was making on there, rather than even going into that, was that if you look at the image, as the sun is sinking behind the real horizon, the second sun shape was changing to match the first one. So as this first one goes down under the horizon, the second one is making a irregular shape too, just like the horizon. So to me, that's proof right there. Because, and it pissed him off. Basically told me, don't bother replying to my writings anymore. I'm like, hey, no problem. I don't believe me. I got better things to do, like, I don't know, bang my head against the wall. So I don't have to, I won't follow it. It won't matter. But the point I'm trying to get at is that let's look, that alone should end it, because what mechanism is making the second sun get smaller in the same shape as the sun going on the horizon? What mechanism? No answer. Wasn't addressed. Then the second thing I said, well, what about the gravity? If there's another body out there, the gravitation stuff would be amazing. I mean, they can measure the gravity. There's a planet, they say, way out. We can't even see it. but they can measure that something is perturbing the gravity in Uranus and Neptune, so there's got to be something out there. People generically use that for a Planet X reference, but it is something that's, let's call it stable in its effects, that they're predictable and measurable. So that to me tells me from math and physics that whatever is out there is doing its thing and not incoming. And so if you're going to have multiple suns appearing in the sky, first off, because they're so big, they're going to be seen everywhere. You'll see them with your bare eyes. Because you got the sun here, and then you have the other ones going to be lighter, it'll be right there. And it was far enough away in this particular picture that you could see it with your own eyes. But you can't, because it's a lens flare in the camera. And so it could be seen in America, it'll be seen in Europe, it'll be seen, everywhere, because these bodies are so big, the parallax from these bodies, you can move, like, when if you could instantaneously go around the planet, the moon is so big that, it's not going to be not there, unless you go like the other side of the planet. So I'm explaining this stuff to you now. And in my mind, I'm going, you guys are going like, geez, yeah, we know. Can you go on to something else? And I got you. I understand. But here's my point. And this stuff to me is basic stuff. This is like, hey, what made that? First time you saw it, this goes back to the old Planet X days. First time you go back to that, you look at it and you go, hey, where'd that come from? You go do a little research. Oh, I see. You understand lens flares. You got examples of it, And I even saw a guy who purposely created a lens flare with a porch light to show the same effect. Going, so is there a second porch light? So, and I'm saying this. What? I don't know why. Let me get back to that. All right. So this is the kind of thing. Now, there are people who want to believe in some weird thing. And that's fine. That's fine. And if someone's going to come back and say, well, really what it is it's a parallel universe of the sun, which is sinking at the same time, but we're getting an opening to that parallel universe. Okay? What's the mechanism for that? Why is it doing it? Why is it doing it in your camera but not the eyes? Why is it doing it here but not in... so even there, you'll have to explain something. You can't just say, well, it's probably a parallel universe, and that's it. You got to have something. You got to have some kind of basis here. And believe me, the people that I know in my life out in the world think I'm very liberal when it comes to coming up with, alternate theories, the so-called conspiracy theories. They'll give me the conspiracy theory thing, right? And I'm going like, dude, I'm like really grounded compared to some of the other stuff out there. And, they just blow it up. And see, I'm willing to walk out into that and look for it. But my assumption is I'll walk out into those areas. But my assumption is that people want to know reality, want to know truth. So not that I am the, be-all, end-all expert reference, but the stuff I'm bringing up is not mine. I didn't make this up about the lens flares. It's all over the place. And so all I'm bringing out is grounded information that I have seen. I will offer theories and assertions and so forth that I would think, hey, this wouldn't, this kind of applies, but it's very weak. But hey, wouldn't it be something or whatever? I'll offer those things too, but I'm not going to be attached to them, and I'm not going to get upset when someone goes, no, I don't think so. Okay, give me some stuff. You got anything? No? Okay. I'm going to continue with that particular thing until something else comes in to change it. Now, is that reasonable? My question to you is why, again, I got this blank stare when I see this stuff. Is that a reasonable response? And does anybody care? Am I wasting my time by doing this stuff? Because I don't have to do it. I'm not like driven to do it. Obviously, I'm not trying to be a star. Okay? So I'm using my talents in electronics and computers and audio and stuff, and I'm using my mind and what I've seen to say, here's what I've shared in the collectiveness. We can talk about it. But what I find myself doing is I'm beating my head up against someone else's head. I go, look, I got nothing. You want to believe whatever you want. I don't care. I'm going to go to sleep, not worry about it, It doesn't bother me. Okay, what does bother me is the amount, the depth, the often-ness that I'm running into these things. It's way more than ever. Way more than ever. So I don't know if I've changed. You know, because I always, whenever I get something, I ask myself. I go like, okay, you know, what about me? You know, I'm the first person to go into I go into a self-examination before I. And I've gone through it, and I go, no, what I'm saying is, you know, heck, I could back it up 100 ways to Sunday. And it's not like MSN propaganda stuff I'm talking about. I'm talking about stuff that's like non-even controversial science stuff. Yeah, the parallel. But when you have a parallel, when it's far enough away, that's why when you're driving down the road, the moon stays there. Now, I realize the Earth is turning, but it's so far away that the difference that you moved is ineffective. And that's my point using of that thing. Now, let me stop there for a minute, and before I forget this, McKinney is quiet. As far as I know, I haven't listened to it in a while. He's got his own radio show that's on every week and has been forever. It's on shortwave. He has a pay-per-view, deeper, more. He's marketing his. He'll give you the general version, and then if you want to know more, you got to subscribe. That's the last that I've heard from him. As far as I know, he's not being quiet, and I don't know what he's being quiet about. He's been working in his wind generator and all this stuff, which is a very good thing. I put a link to that on talked about it earlier in the show. So I'm asking. I mean, I'm asking you. You know, if you're a troll or a knucklehead, I don't care what you're going to say. You know, it's just bypass it and move on. But I'm asking. It's like some of the stuff is so obvious to me that it's like I'm saying these things almost waiting for people to fall asleep and snore because it's so obvious. And yet I got people left and right unfriending, banning, telling me not to respond to their posts. What? Then you're not going to be in my feed then, all right? Because it's like I'm not going to, this is so-and-so. I better not say anything because they'll get offended. We're done with that. You know, we're done with that feed. So, again, if you're going to be friends, my goal is not to tear you apart. And believe me, you know what? I'm going to put a link up or something. You ought to read The Death of Socrates by Plato. And look what happened with Socrates when he was going in and he pointed out the flaws in theories people had. They were getting really pissed off with him. And they ended up sentencing him to death, trumping up charges on him just to shut him up because they're tired of him for tearing down their things. And that's what I'm feeling like. And I'm not even like Socrates. I'm some guy, you know. And it's like, hey, I don't need this. So I'm assuming the silent majority of people who listen and read are interested and are happy or whatever. And that it's the noisy, squeaky wheels that are the ones who aren't. And that's the assumption I'm going to go on, you know, at this point. But, you know, I don't know what to say. And, you know, and the views I have on the stuff is not exactly high. I mean, I don't really care. But, again, I have a limited amount of time that I can per week. And so I am dedicating the time into this because I want to do it. I want to share the stuff. I like doing it. I'm talking with you guys. I'm glad you guys are making time to listen to this, whether it's live or recorded. That's nice. You know, so it's we're getting into a time when people are getting, first off, they're losing touch with reality and they're getting very offended. You know, it's like the social justice warrior. Everybody makes fun of them because they're all crying the Trump won and all that. This is the same syndrome that's applying across the area. Just pick your topic. Perhaps it's not as infantile as some of those, but it's the same thing. People are looking for people to support their bubble. And the talk show hosts or the video producers or whatever who provide either they feed the bubble or they provide a strong enough personality that will attract the people who want to be like. You know, you have this thing. There's a marketing approach. There's this flame. You go out there and it attracts the moths, or it burns through stuff, and it's like, I just don't have that. I don't have the ego for that. And I'm just, you know. But what I won't do, though, is I won't have someone talk to me, whether it be personally or not, and hand me a line of sauce, garbage, and expect me to go, okay, well, it's okay for you to have that opinion. It is okay. But it's not okay to be standing in my sphere and telling me that I'm supposed to accept this in any way, shape, or form. Now, I accept that you can do it, and that's fine with me. I could care less. But you're going to stand in front of me and say it? I'm not. Sorry, it ain't going to happen. I'm going to say something. So if you don't want that to happen, then don't come to me about it. You know, don't get in my sphere. I'm not looking to get in yours. I'm not coming and knocking on your door going, hey, are you still believing this? No. We got to talk about it. Come out here, right? I can say, hey, we can disagree, especially if you have something complicated and intricate like politics, right? There are certain parts about it. Yes, that's good. Yeah, you know, there's a fluidity and overlapping, and you can agree on this part, not on that part. Yeah, fine. Something like physics, you know, you got to come up with something. I mean, give you an example, like the Big Bang Theory, right? There's a guy I've had on my show, Paul LaViolette, right? He's a physicist. He has a competing theory to Big Bang. He says it's more or less a creation aspect, though he's not Christian. He's more Vedic. That the items, they're actually white holes, not black holes, and the spirals is the stuff coming out of the white hole into the universe. And since, of course, it comes out so slow, we can't in lifetimes have video to actually see if it's going in or coming out. And so there's the evidence that shows there's a white hole, a black hole, can be actually showed as a white hole. Now, there's an interesting thing, because you have someone who is a physicist, who can argue both in a critical paper, you know, as a physicist and as a common in the common sphere to explain. Now, there's something like, ooh, that's very interesting. So when you say to me, is it white hole or black hole? I don't know. See, this is evidence. Even if they're supposed to be taking a picture of a black hole, they have enough information now where they took all this radio data in radio waves, not in light waves. And since radio waves is light waves, I should say visible light waves, since it is light waves, of course, it'll get sucked into a black hole just like visible waves. So they took all these radio telescopes from all over the world, and they've sent all these hard drives with all this data, which is taking years to correlate. But they're supposed to come out this year with a radio image of an actual black hole where they could see, you know, like here's the size, right? Instead of like a dot or whatever. And using that, as far as I know, using that information, if it was a white hole, what you would see would be white, if you will. I mean, you would see radio waves coming out of the white hole. You wouldn't see the blackness of it when it goes in. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see. And maybe that even can't do the job because there's another explanation for the absorption of radio waves. Radio waves are pretty good at going through dust clouds and all that because the waves are so long, they're not absorbed, which is why they use that. So, all right, so I think I might have covered all of that. I think I said what I needed to say. So I'm looking for feedback here. You know, I just keep on keeping on until I don't, is what I'll do. And but I got to tell you, you know, this stuff is it's getting to me. So it's not even different opinion. Well, you have your opinion. No, I don't. You know, well, I could fly. I remember this one lady talking to me who was a rumor mill news reporter. I forgot what they called them. They didn't call them reporters. What did they call them? I forgot the phrase they used. Agent or something like that, which should tell you something. And she said that she believed that she could hover. And I said, go ahead. I said, I'm typing with her, so I can't see it. I said, I'll believe you if you say you did it. She says, well, I can't yet because I don't have the faith, I don't have the belief in it, and all so like that. But to me, it's not believing. It's not as simple as that. It's that everything is based on a physics of type, and there is a metaphysics that if you can get in tune enough with your spiritual, intricately laced with the physics of reality, you can, hover or whatever. You can travel from one place to another. I have no problem with that being possible because based on my understanding of physics and so forth, I can see where the metaphysics is spiritual, but you have to be, let me say the word, trained or acclimated into it. And for those who actually can, it's like, why? There's got to a point of their spiritual reality and their understanding. It's a question of why would I do it? And if you go back to Jesus, people say Jesus didn't do any miracles, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to argue with that. I wasn't there. I'm not going to just take it on faith. But to me, it's irrelevant, though it's probable, I think, because of the point that he was trying to make of what we can do. So to me, it's kind of reasonable that one could assume that it happened. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not in the principles taught. It's not requirement for getting through life on the positive side. But it makes sense that it can happen. But if somebody says they can do it, and let me see it, and they go like, well, there's no point. I go, well, then there's no point in you saying it. So, you see how that works? I mean, this is how the mind, all I'm doing is offering how my mind thinks. And if you're interested, fine. If not, that's fine too. So, let me see, is there anything else going on? All right, just talking about McKinney. All right, well, that's about it, I think. And send me email, james@feettothefireradio.com. Or you can use the Gmail, which is jjancik, JANCIK, @gmail. And just give me some information. You can write back here if you'd like on the feedback on the show, on the YouTube or on, I don't know, I guess you could do that on a Spreaker. I don't really have people in the chat room at Spreaker at the time, though several people do listen to it. Most of the stuff is done on download, and I understand that because people are doing stuff. There's 1,000 things you can listen to on a Sunday night. When I started this, there was hardly any. So there wasn't any, 16 years ago. So now there's a lot, and I understand that, and that's why I don't care, and I offer the downloads, and you can watch it at any time, and that's great. I still get feedback from people who watch a show that's 5 years old, and they go, oh, yeah, this is a good point. And so that's what's the beauty of having all this. And remember, bitchute.com, that's BITCHUT.com, or E.com, and the links are all below. You can see it. This carries the show, too. It uploads to Facebook and automatically, or YouTube, and automatically transfers to there like a day later. And so there's a bunch of people listening on BitChute, and that's cool. I'm going to have to try and get over there more for any comments that come up. But this gets around the YouTube stuff, so you can go over there and still not miss anything. I don't know if the live comes over there, so you can pay attention for the live if you want the live. But other than that, it shows up over there. And, of course, then there's Spreaker, which is an audio-only deal. And that's really what I did for all these years. I never messed around with video, but getting involved in the algorithms in YouTube was beneficial for people to get the information. And plus, I can show things and so on. But now the algorithms are changing, so it's like, well, maybe it doesn't matter anymore. I don't have to be seen. I mean, as you can see, it's not exactly a rock star here. But so anyway, we'll leave it at that. And, I don't know. I feel better. I feel better getting off my chest. Anyway, so thanks for listening. And we'll see you next week and let's see what's going on. Whoops. Oh, let me stop there for a minute. I forgot to say there's no less visible this week. He has technical stuff going on, so he'll be set up. He'll make sure he gets it done for next week. So he's okay. It just there's no. And also, I've posted. Somebody put a because the audio isn't all that great. His mic was kind of weird. Somebody posted a transcript link, so I put that down underneath that show. So that's new. So all right, here we go.